When was the last time you downloaded a 30-page PDF and actually read it? Exactly. In 2026, generic ultimate retirement guides aren't converting like they used to because information is everywhere and AI can generate it in seconds. So what actually works now? Niche specific guides, micro guides you can read in 5-10 minutes, short video explainers, personal scorecards that make someone say, hey, this is about me. In today's episode of the Playbook, I'll show you how to create lead magnets that don't just get downloaded, they start conversations. Let's dive in.
This is the Financial Advisor Marketing Playbook, a show for financial advisors who want to explore the topic of client acquisition and business growth. Your host is Mark Mersman, Chief Marketing Officer at USA Financial. He is an investment advisor representative of securities offered through USA Financial Securities, member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor.
Welcome back to the Playbook. Looking forward to talking about lead magnets today, and I have a bit of a confession to make. This episode is probably more for me, initially at least, than it is necessarily for you, largely because I've been knee-deep in working on some new lead generation programs for advisors and have been doing a lot of research on this topic, which is ultimately what has led me to create today's podcast, because it kind of has hit me like a bit of a ton of bricks. And my team is going to likely not love some of the digging that I've been doing and kind of diving in terms of looking at results and responses and effectiveness, because it's going to upend some of the things that we've been working on. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, I'm going to ask you this question. And if you're using lead magnets already, this question is really for you. If you're not, it will still make sense, obviously. But if your lead magnet, whether it's a guide, a report, an ebook, whatever, could be used by any advisor in any city that serves just about any client, my guess is it's not converting. Is that a safe statement? And the truth is, AI has killed a lot of this, right? The 30-page retirement guide is dying, and most advisors haven't noticed. The truth is, in 2026, in the age of AI that we're in, specificity beats size, and relevance is going to beat comprehensiveness. So let's kind of double click on that and talk about why. We all know that our attention spans are shorter. I mean, if you think about videos that you consume, truth is, if you're not hooked in the first 30 seconds, you've moved on from that video. And it's not that you won't necessarily check out a video that's longer, but they got to get you quick, right? AI has commoditized information. I mean, in a blip, we can get our fingertips on any type of information that we might want. And people don't necessarily want more content. They want clarity about their situation. And as it relates to you as an advisor trying to bring new prospects in the door, your job is to demonstrate, hey, I'm somebody that knows your pain points and has helped people just like you. And I think it's important that we remember that the job of a lead magnet is not education. It's momentum. It's designed to kind of swing them, bring them your way, and create that momentum in your favor. It is not about education, because the truth is they can get that education just about anywhere. So let's talk about the big shift, right? From broad, the ultimate guide to retirement, the 25 plus page white paper, comprehensive planning, PDFs, and that sort of thing. That's kind of a thing of the past, and it's not even that distant. That was working 5-10 years ago. Why it doesn't work now is simple. It's too broad, it's too long, it's too impersonal, and it's super easy to replicate through AI. And so what's really starting to work now, some of the trends that we're seeing, niche specificity, personalization, brevity, identity-based targeting. This is probably one of the most important pieces of the puzzle, is making sure that you're serving that ad or that message up to, and we have a real strong, narrow message to market match. And if your lead magnet doesn't make somebody say, this is exactly for me, it's probably not going to work, or is certainly not going to work as effectively as you want and as effectively as it probably did 5 or 10 years ago. So let's jump into a few of the different lead magnets that we're starting to leverage, and I would encourage you to think about. The first stage is niche specific guides. Why they convert, it's really easy. The psychology of this is, identity-based marketing increases trust. If I see a guide that says, and I'm a marketing guy, so if I see a guide that says, why CMOs should be doing this or should be taking this action, I'm immediately going to identify as, hey, this guide's speaking to me. The relevance of it starts to reduce some of my cognitive load. I don't have to overthink and wonder, is this guide for me? It's telling me directly, hey, that's me. So I don't have to think as hard about whether or not should I download it, should I jump into it. It's hit me right in the face. And people respond when they feel seen. So we're going to talk about, let's look at some examples when we think about that. We could create a generic guide that says 5 retirement tax mistakes that routinely cost people money. Simple, blah, right? But we could make one little tweak to that title and that guide and say 5 retirement tax mistakes that physicians make or business owners make. Therefore, now when we serve that ad up to the physicians or the business owners, they don't have to overthink it. Hey, it's speaking to me. Maybe I've got to think twice and pause on this and look to get this guide. Or what engineers overlook when planning for retirement. And the truth is, the content inside of these guides probably not going to be tons different when you start to, get around, get into some of the nuances of the specific audience. But that title is certainly going to catch somebody's attention, and you can make some little subtle changes inside of the guide to really make it stand up for the specific audience. So think a little bit differently. I mean, think about this one. Retirement income planning is a big part of what we do here at USA Financial. And we could certainly create a generic retirement income planning guide, which we do. We have. A matter of fact, we just finished one. And now I'm going to be going back to my team and looking at how can we get even more specific. And maybe that's going to be retirement income strategies for divorced women over age 55. Super specific. And now as I cater my audience, my targeting with some ads, I target people that fit that exact demographic, and poof, now all of a sudden we've got the magic guide for them that they're going to say, that's for me. Narrow is powerful, right? We have to remember that. And what it really does, one of the big advantages to you is this sort of thing pre-qualifies prospects, right? It's going to differentiate you immediately. It's going to kind of put you from the generalist mindset into the specialist mindset. And, so a framework to think about here is, maybe you're going to create guides focused on industry, occupation, or maybe life stage, and then problem, taxes or retirement income or legacy planning or whatever it is that the problem that you're kind of poking at here with this guide. And then maybe time frame, maybe you're going to put some age bands to it. Maybe you're going to say within, 5 years, things like that now it starts to get really narrow in terms of who our audience is. And this also helps you in its own way with ad spend, because now you're not, if you're doing ads, now you're not placing, an ad budget out to a mass audience trying to solve all of their problems. You're putting a target from a dollar amount into a very small window, and you're very specific with the problem that you can help them solve. And obviously the guide itself can help do that. An example of the whole industry life stage problem time frame scenario could be 3 Social Security decisions to make 24 months before retirement. That would appeal to a lot of people that are within a couple of years of selecting Social Security. So just one little example, and a lot of these things that you can use the exact same Social Security decision-making guide that you may already have, but by changing that title and how you frame the guide itself, everything changes. The next shift I want you to think about is maybe some micro guides. So these do not, and when I say, and this can kind of go hand in hand with the whole niche specific guides, but these do not have to be 30-page PDFs. And again, I raise my hand. I'm guilty of having created some of those. And I still do to a certain extent. And, because in many ways it's hard for me to always cut things out. But we know that short beats comprehensive because cognitive overload starts to kill action, right? When we get too much coming at us, number one, our first inclination is paralysis. Number two, it might just be to throw the thing away or delete it because I'm not going to read 30 pages. It's funny, the other day I was on X and there was a long post and I was actually really interested in reading it. I just couldn't muscle my way through because the thing was so long and my brain just went into mush mode. So, and so the truth is when it comes to guides or anything, less is oftentimes more. People are more likely to read 2, 3, 4, 5 pages than they are 30. So if you're thinking about creating a micro guide or you want help with this, the very simple structure to kind of follow that I've been working towards here, identify the problem, explain why it matters, provide 3 to 5 insights, and close with a next step. I want to draw you back to another episode. If you didn't watch the other episode that I just put out, it was focused on the drip sequence. And there's a reason why I'm putting these 2 episodes kind of hand in hand, but because that drip sequence is obviously going to come right after a download of a guide. You'll notice in an effective drip sequence, you'll share one insight. The truth of the matter is you can do dual work, and these insights that you're putting into this guide, you can then slowly work into very, little nuggets of those insights, put them into the drip sequence. But I digress. If you haven't watched that episode, I'd encourage you to do so. So the micro guide, I think, is a big thing. The goal with this is not to answer every question. It's to create one good next question that they have in their mind, right? So think about that. We have a tendency when we're putting some of this stuff together to put everything out there, demonstrate all of our knowledge, make sure we check every box, cover all the bases, when in reality, that's actually doing us a disservice because now they got all their questions answered. So think about the kind of your one big goal is to compel them to have one good next question in their mind that, boy, they got to get that answered. Want to shift gears to another lead magnet that I think is a little bit harder to do, or maybe for some. And this is short videos. And these might be, you can call them explainers, you can call them, just little educational blips. I wouldn't call them a webinar because I don't think that you need to do a webinar, but we know that video is converting way more in 2026 now. The truth is trust builds faster with face and voice. You can see that in all the social media platforms. They're giving, a lot more I guess putting a lot more emphasis in terms of how they rank video inside of their algorithms. The truth from an advisor perspective is that it humanizes you. But I think that's a big part of, what we have to do and what's incumbent upon us as we're shifting into obviously this new age with AI. You better stay human with prospects and clients. And video is a great way to do that. The video ads also have a way of kind of pre-qualifying prospects along the way, and it differentiates you from static PDFs. So I'll give you, I'll share a few examples of maybe some explainer videos that you could do. And these are really easy to put together. So I don't want you to overthink, oh man, this feels like a lot. Because honestly, leveraging AI to help you build some of this content, and not necessarily to write scripts, because I think that there's, again, we want to come back to the humanizing component, but to help you outline what, some of these short video explainers can do. For example, the 12-minute retirement income framework. And that's your video, and you share, you can use AI to help you bullet point out what it is that you want to talk about. But it's okay if you fumble a little bit in the video. It does not have to be perfect. In fact, I would argue you stumbling on a weird word here or there, or pausing to collect your thoughts, it actually humanizes you more. And in today's day and age, I think that's a win. So, another one, the title might be How We Help Clients Reduce Taxes in Retirement. Or maybe you want to go back to that niche audience and create some videos that are very specific to a specific niche. All of this stuff kind of ties in, and these can be 8, 10, I'd probably say 12 to 15 minutes max, as kind of the lead magnet, the length of the video. I'd encourage you to do it in more of a conversational tone. Very easy. I mean, in much the same way that I try to do these videos and other videos that we do here at USA Financial. I mean, the whole goal of them is to be conversational, is to try to invite the viewer and the listener into the conversation. Even though it's a one-way conversation, hopefully you feel like you're on the other end of a phone call and just happen to be on mute. I'd encourage you to stay with just one topic. Don't go meandering all over the place. Kind of stay focused on that specific topic. You'll have a tendency, I think, a lot of times, especially, us in the financial advice industry, you can talk, you say you're talking about Social Security, and you can get off on a kind of a rabbit trail talking about taxes, or you can talk about other ways to generate income. So don't get too caught up down into that. Just stay on one topic. I'd avoid using slides. Certainly if you wanted to use a whiteboard, you could, because sometimes with financial planning topics, you might need to, but a lot of times advisors will use PowerPoint or slides as the crutch, as kind of a crutch in their recording. I would encourage you to work around that. I think the more you can demonstrate command of a topic and try to simplify it without having to put all these numbers in front of people's face, it demonstrates that you can communicate a complex topic in a simple way. And at the end of the day, that's what a prospect and a client wants. They want somebody that can simplify the complex and get them to understand it without having to use big words, without having to show them all kinds of charts and graphs and slide decks. So try to work through that. I know that's going to be a challenge for a lot of folks, but try to work towards, eliminating the need for slides. And I'd encourage you to end with a soft invitation. The thing to remember here is people don't hire, PDFs. They're not hiring AI. They might be using those things to gather their information, but they hire people. And, there's all this talk around AI is going to replace advisors in pretty much every job out there in the world, right? Well, we know that's not true. And the way for you to make sure that that doesn't happen is to continue to humanize yourself and show that, hey, I'm a real person. You can work with me. I can explain things simply, and I'm your advocate. So, understand that, again, some mistakes, some ums, some ahs, that's going to happen. You don't need to overproduce this. These videos that I do, unless it's really bad or I got the dog barking like crazy or something happens. And we do this all in one shot. We don't do any editing. It is what it is. And that's really done intentionally. Now there's a time and place for heavy editing, but this doesn't necessarily need to be one of those. Next lead magnet that works pretty well is kind of the personal scorecards and checklists. And this is kind of more of an interactive or self-assessment type of tool. And the reason why this works from a behavioral standpoint, self-diagnosis, people love. It's weird to say that. I was in Barnes & Noble not long ago and walked by a giant section of just self-help books, right? So it's very clear that people are okay with going through that process themselves. Assessment starts to create ownership too for people. Seeing a score, if it's a poor score, it can create some urgency in people. Some examples could be, retirement income confidence checklist. And I'm kind of spitballing here, but some that I've seen over the years, business exit preparedness score, the checklist for entering retirement, or if you're working with pilots, the pilot's guide, or pilot's checklist to retiring in 5 years, or, things like that, and start to kind of work in. Again, we talked a little earlier about the niche stuff, work that stuff in. There's absolutely play for that. A very simple structure that you could use, 10 to 15 yes or no questions, have a simple scoring scale. And this can be, again, a simple one-page PDF, right? It doesn't have to be super long. Maybe you want to give a brief interpretation of the scoring or what it means to you. And then have a soft next step. If you scored under 7, there might be opportunities for you to improve your situation or your clarity. And be honest, like if they scored really well, hey, congrats, really good, happy for you, you're doing well, you're on track for success type of thing. This works because it feels personalized, right? They're interacting with it. Whether you try to build some online interaction or just do it as a simple one-page PDF, it will lower defensiveness. It's a good way to also a good tool to use in a drip sequence as well. To offer as a giveaway here. Hey, if you haven't had a chance, Mr. Business Owner, Mr. Physician, Mr. Insert niche here, take our self-assessment. And it creates that momentum, which again is kind of the entire intent. It creates that momentum for conversation. Some things that I would have tried to avoid doing nowadays, try to avoid something that AI can replicate instantly. Don't make it too broad. We talked a little about that, obviously. Don't overwhelm with design. You can certainly put some design elements to it, but you don't have to over design the piece. A big one is do not make it about you. This is for them. Now, certainly you can have a little blurb about who you are, why you help that group of people. But the point of these is not about you. It's about them as the hero. You're the guide. So I want to share, as we kind of wrap up here, you're thinking about lead magnets, before creating one, there's kind of 4 questions. And this was kind of the aha moment for me. And this is the moment that my team's not going to love, but it is what it is. Kind of the 4-question lead magnet filter that I would encourage you to think about. So before creating one, ask, is it specific to a type of person? If you're designing something that's for everybody, then it ultimately is for nobody. Can it be consumed in under 20 minutes? I think that's certainly important given our attention spans today. Does it create clarity and not complexity? If somebody walks away from it feeling more overwhelmed versus having some clarity, then you've done something wrong. And obviously the last one, does it naturally lead to a conversation? If somebody read it or somebody took it or watched your video and you met that, bumped into that person or you followed up with that person the next day, does it naturally allow you to flow into a conversation? Because that's a big part of it. It's a part of the drip sequence that you want to be thinking through, and it's a part of any follow-up efforts that you're looking to do. And so if the answer is no to any of those questions, you got to rethink it. So I hope that's helpful. I mean, here's the kind of the closing thought here. If the truth is the future of lead magnets is changing. We know that more content is not the winning formula. More relevance, more clarity, more personalization, and less overwhelming. And just lean into the fact that our attention spans, we're filtering through things so much faster today than we did 5-10 years ago, right? You've got 3 seconds of somebody's attention, maybe for them to look at it and say, do I want to click on this? Do I want to download it? And then once they do, you don't have much time to get them to say, am I going to keep going through this or am I just dumping it? So think through that stuff. When your lead magnet feels tailored, prospects don't hesitate. They'll lean in. So if you like this content, I certainly would appreciate you following our page or following us on whatever podcast podcast player you might be listening on. It certainly helps us, and hopefully it will continue to help you as you look to grow your practice in 2026 and beyond. Thanks for tuning in. Take care, and we'll see you on the playbook later. Bye-bye.
This information is for licensed financial professionals only and is not intended for use in soliciting sales from the public. The views expressed represent the opinions of the presenter or their featured guest, not necessarily those of USA Financial or its affiliated subsidiaries. Industry references are generic and are not intended to represent actions or beliefs of any individual or entity. Content is only presented to illustrate general principles, beliefs, or ideas and should not be construed as legal or regulatory advice. Trademark and copyright protected. USA Financial and Affiliates.